So thank you. First, I would like to thank you for inviting me to such a great webinar. I really enjoyed the presentation of Professor Walker and Dr. Bari, and I'm actually much honored to share this panel with the distinguished guest. So I basically wanted to hear from them and actually learn from the panels. Hence, I'll keep my comment brief and short. I'll talk briefly about Bangladesh's obligations under international human rights law and what are the options the country has to resolve this crisis, and finally, what Amnesty International is doing. First, as Professor Walker and Dr. Bari said, I'd like to acknowledge that the Bangladesh government has actually been very generous, and they demonstrated its goodwill. Their goodwill to host nearly 1 million refugees, which is a Herculean task. All this despite the fact that Bangladesh didn't sign 1951 refugee conventions. However, but the country has obligations under a number of other international instruments that it actually had to sign, and also under the customary international laws. So the basic thread of the international framework is the principle of non-refoulement. That means we cannot push back the refugees, which actually derives from two instruments. Article 33 of the 1951 Refugee Convention and Article 3 of Convention Against Torture that Bangladesh acceded. So both of these conventions and these articles actually provides Bangladesh that it cannot expel or return or extradite a person to another state where there are substantial grounds for believing that the person will be in danger of being subjected to torture. So in that regard, I think Bangladesh, though we are calling them the forcibly displaced Myanmar nationals, but it also has a responsibility to protect. And I agree with the other panelists that Bangladesh is doing great. I would briefly talk about some other rights that Bangladesh also have to bear in mind, because we have reports as we monitor the situation on the ground that Bangladesh has restricted the freedom of movement and some other basic rights, like the restriction of the internet use and the freedom of access to information. So Bangladesh is a signatory to ICCPR, in the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and Article 2 of this convention actually obligates Bangladesh that it has to ensure that the right to equality before the law, equal protection of the law, and non-discrimination. And actually, so all of these three key principle of international human rights law has to be ensured when it deals with the refugees. Bangladesh is also signatory to the ILO Convention 118, and under Article 10 of the convention, Bangladesh has also had to ensure that the social security and other needs are met of the stateless person and refugees. Of course, all these international principles are subject to the availability of the resources of Bangladesh's capacity. And as we observe that Bangladesh, with the help of international community, are trying their best. Now, I would like to move to the options. What are the options that Bangladesh actually has in this crisis at the moment? So the first is the Bangladesh has to continue to protect the rights of the refugees until it can ensure under bilateral or international or multilateral arrangement the safe, dignified, and voluntary return of the refugees. So Bangladesh must engage in international community to ensure that their basic rights and the social security are met of these refugees. In terms of resolving this crisis, I would say my personal opinion, and we also position this at various level that Bangladesh has to engage both bilaterally and multilaterally to force Myanmar to actually take back the refugees. And as other panelists have said that one of the principal conditions of safe, voluntary, and dignified return is safe conditions in the Rakhine state. So Myanmar has a lot to do in terms of providing the safe sanctuary to the, I mean, at least under UN supervision or otherwise, it has to create the facilitating, enabling conditions for the refugees to return, and so that the refugees feel safe. The other avenues are the UN and multilateral arrangements. Like we saw that the tripartite meeting between Bangladesh, Myanmar, and China, and most probably you can also engage Indians or other regional players. ASEAN is another forum that Bangladesh can actually engage. So these are the negotiation that Bangladesh has to explore at various levels. But more importantly, I would say Bangladesh needs a solid strategy. I mean, engaging all these stakeholders domestically and internationally, which I would like to say is not clear at all, at least to the national partner. What are the long-term goals? What are the long-term strategy? How to deal with the situation in Myanmar in the wake of the recent coup. So these are the issues that will bother, I would say, the government in Bangladesh and also the regional partners. I would like to conclude by saying something about what Amnesty International is doing. So Amnesty International operates on these issues both at the country level, regionally, and also internationally. So at the country level, we work with our partners on the ground, the UN agencies. We campaign for the Rohingya people's rights. Especially, I think two of our campaigns have been very prominent, and one was the right to education of the Rohingya children, which luckily the Bangladesh government has accepted that yes, the Rohingya children has to be provided with education in Myanmar curriculum. So we are working with UNICEF and other organizations how to facilitate that. We have another ongoing campaign on including the Rohingya refugees in the decisions, in the camp decisions, governance decisions that affect their lives. Regionally, we have colleagues in Myanmar and in other parts of South Asia, so we keep engaging them. In Thailand also, we keep engaging them to push the issues in the regional platform. And internationally, we have colleagues in the Western countries and capitals. We try to engage the Western governments to increase the assistance to the Rohingya people. So both the material assistance as well as the policy support in the UN or in the ICC, in other platforms. We also engage the US administrations and also the European countries at various forums, including the European Parliament, Canadian Parliament. So our colleague spoke before the US US Congress spoke before the Canadian Parliament. So we are trying to engage at both level, both the local, domestic level, at the regional level, and also internationally. And I think we are working pretty much closer with the government to ensure that first of all their rights are respected in the refugee camps, and also the international communities play their part, so they come and rescue to the Bangladeshis assistance, given that Bangladesh have the limited capacity and resource constraints. So this is how we are trying to play our part. I would like to have, I would be happy to answer if there is any questions. Thank you.